In this video I'm going to explain the second assignment in ICS 312. So if we look at the assignments, look at the schedule. This is the one I've rewritten this a little bit to clear it up exactly what we need to do, and I've also made the assignments page reflect what the schedule says. So anyway, it's this part where we're going to implement these algorithm workbench exercises, and basically they are conversions from decimal to binary and decimal to hex and so on. So I thought to make it fun, plus also so we can refresh our knowledge of JavaScript, I thought I would make a simple little exercise here where we are given a base converter that does binary to decimal. And so, for example, in decimal mode, we can 45 and convert to binary, and we see that it's that. We can convert back to decimal, and we should get back 45 again. Or we can enter in a binary number, 10110, and that should convert to decimal 22. So we start with this, and we're going to create this here. And so this is actually a screenshot. This doesn't function. So the exercise is to add hex capability and add the keys and so on, rearrange them a little bit, make this a little bit bigger, and that'll be a good way for us to refresh our JavaScript knowledge and or learn it if you don't yet know it. And then also understand these base conversions. And as I said before, later on we're going to do some systems programming exercises where we're going to actually write parts of a little compiler in JavaScript, and so we need to be familiar with the string functions and so on. So let's get started. First of all, let's take a look at this source, view the source, and I'm going to go through this a little bit so we understand it and understand what we're going to expand, where we're going to add. To start with, though, I'm going to create my own copy of this that I can start editing. So I'm going to pull up a text editor, and I think I'm going to use this Notepad++, and I'm just going to basically copy this text here. Copy the source, copy it all the way down to here, and I don't really need that picture, but I'll get rid of that in a moment. And I'm going to go over to my text editor, and I'm going to paste it, and so here it is. And I can actually get rid of the part down here. I don't need that picture, it's the image. And I'm also gonna okay, so let me save this. I'm gonna save it on my desktop. Save as on my desktop. I'm gonna name it base converter.html. Save, and let me find it. Here it is, right here, and let me open it up. And I think I'm going to use Firefox. Open with Firefox. Here it is. So this is my base converter on my desktop, and I think I'm going to start out by, let's see that this works. 101 should be a 5, and it does. I'm going to start out by making it Richard's base converter, and if I save this and now I look at it and refresh it, now it says Richard's base converter. So I know this is the one I'm looking at. Okay, so let's go through this code a little bit and figure out what we're going to have to change, what we're going to have to add to. Okay, all HTML documents should start with a line like this, an HTML line specifying the default language, and then this head section, and the head section starts here and it ends down here on line 87. And inside the head section we have some meta tags. We have the title that says base converter, that is what this is up here. And I've defined a style for the button that's for the TD tag, the table cells. It's just for table cells. Okay, now here is my JavaScript. This is really the heart of what we're working with here. I've written a decimal to binary function here. So what comes in is a decimal number, and it loops through the decimal number each time, dividing by 2 and taking the remainder and appending that onto the front of this binary string that we're building. And once the value for decimal reaches 0, then we're done, and we return that binary string here. And so this is the loop where the remainder, which is going to be a 1 or a 0 when we divide by 2, gets appended to the front of the binary string, and when it's each time the decimal number is divided by 2, and it goes to 0, and when it hits 0, then we're done. Okay, so that's decimal to binary. Binary to decimal, it's a multiplication process. We are multiplying each binary digit by its position and adding that up, and we end up with our final sum, which is what the decimal value is. So we start by setting the decimal. We bring in a binary number, and it's going to be a string of digits, and so we loop starting at the leftmost binary digit, and we loop the number of digits long, and each time we pull off the digit, and this is the substring function here, which will take the ith, take one character from the ith position. So it starts out at 0, which is the first digit, and it takes one digit, and then it keeps on going one at a time. Each time the decimal number that's being summed is multiplied by 2, which in effect shifts the shifts the position, and then it adds parse int, makes sure that it's a sum function and not a append, not a string append, and it adds to the decimal number, and when it's done, when we've been through all the digits, then it returns the decimal number. So this is actually a decimal value that is returned. Note up here, this is a string. This is a binary string that is returned. Okay, so those are the binary to decimal, decimal to binary conversions. We're going to be adding decimal to hexadecimal and hexadecimal back to decimal again, and then to do the conversions from hexadecimal to binary and back again, we will use 2 functions. So we'll see how that works. This is a function simply to clear the display, and the element is the ID of the element is number underscore input, and that is this element here, and that just clears it. And this function here is the function to append the digit onto what is in this number input text box. So for example, when I press the 2 here, it's going to append the 2 to the right of the 5. And when I press the 6, it appends the 6 to the right of the 2, and so on. So that's simply that function. It takes what's in there, appends the digit on. And this works for, this checks to make sure that if we're in decimal mode, that we're appending, we can append decimal digits, but if we're in binary mode, we can only append a 0 or a 1. And this here is, this checks that if it's decimal. Now, whether it's decimal or not, or binary, is determined by which radio button is checked. And so you see over here, either this one's going to be checked or this one's going to be checked. And so we're going to have to add a case for hexadecimal because we need to include the letters A, B, C, D, E, and F. This here stores the newly appended display string back into the number input text box, and this is where we save this word right here. It is inside an HTML span, and you'll see that, and it's just the value of the base here, the string value of the base. This is the actual function that calls these functions up here to do the conversions. This is the actual function that decides which one to call. So based on it first, this is called whenever one of these is pressed. Whenever this is clicked or this is clicked, that's going to call this function, which is going to determine what the number is, what the base of the number is in the number input text box, and what base, or this is what the number is, this is what the base of the number is, and what was clicked comes in here. And so it's going to convert from this base to this base. It's going to take this number and convert it from this base to this base. And so this makes sure that there's actually a number there, and as long as it's greater than 0 and a base is set, or the from base is set, then if the from base is binary and the to base is decimal, then you want to call this function binary to decimal, and the argument is what comes in from number input, and the result is going to be written back into number input. This is the other case. If we're going from decimal to binary, then we call the decimal to binary function. Now, what we're going to add is hex, and for hex, we're going to actually add 4 more cases here, because we're not only going from decimal to hex and hex to decimal, but we're also going from binary to hex and hex to binary. So those will be added here. Now, let's go down and see actually what this HTML looks like. All HTML documents need to have a body, a beginning body, and an ending body. And this particular HTML document, I make a lot of use of tables. There's a bunch of little tables in here. So this style attribute onto the body tag simply specifies what font I prefer. And this margin is the margin around the top and the sides of the document as it's displayed. This is a header H1 tag. That's this here. That's why it's so big. And this table here is the table that's got my two radio buttons. Here's the radio button for the binary, that would be this one here, and this is the radio button for the decimal. Now, the way these radio buttons work is, you'll notice there's a name attribute and there's an ID attribute. The name attribute is used to identify or to specify that only one radio button is going to be set at once. So when any other radio button in the set is clicked, then all the other radio buttons are cleared and only that one that was just clicked is set. So there's two of them here, and so either this one is going to be set, it's going to be clicked, or this one is going to be clicked. And we're going to add a third one, a third button, which is going to be for hex, and we'll also use the same name. However, the ID will be different. The ID is different because we refer to each button separately up in the JavaScript here. Base conversion here. No, not there. Here. Here. This little table here, can't really see, but this is that span where we actually write out, and it's blue, we write out what the base is. That's right here. That's this thing right here. And this table here, oops, is the where this is the number input. This is the text box, which that's this right here. And this big long table here is the keypad. You'll notice there's 4 rows, 5 rows actually. One row, this is the top row, this is the 7, the 8, and the 9. This row is the 4, the 5, and the 6. This row is the 1, the 2, and the 3. This row is the 0, and below that is the clear. So, what we're going to do now is, this should actually be 3, because this says this TD tag spans 3 columns, because each of these rows has 3 columns. That's how a table works. Now, the way these buttons work is these are just plain buttons, and this is the value, this is the number that shows up here, but that is also the number that is, when it's clicked, it is the number that's sent to the append digit function. You recall in the append digit function, the argument is the digit that we're going to append onto the number that's in the text box here. So that way, this on-click event handler can be exactly the same, and we only need to change the value in here. So what we're going to now do, and I think I'm going to end this video and start a new one, is we're going to come back and we're going to actually make all the modifications to the HTML. So this is going to have 3 radio buttons up here. This will be a little bit bigger. The hex digits will be here. The clear will be a little bit bigger. We'll do that, and then after we do that, we will add the JavaScript up at the top. So I'm going to sign off here, and we'll start another video. Thanks for watching.